this.
Yeah.
It just feels to me like there's so much confusion and fear, and I'm sure you see that a lot with actors coming in, and the process moving online and things changing. And so just having someone who's been in the industry as long as you have, I respect you immensely, Denise.
Oh, thank you.
Genuinely so. And I always like to tell actors, you don't need every casting director to be a fan. But if you have 10 to 20 or a handful that can see you and see your work, who keep calling you back in and believing in you, that's an experience I've had with you,
Yeah.
where you don't need everyone to love you, but it's really important to have a few casting directors that you respect and admire, be able to see your work and know what you can bring that's different. And I just wanted to ask you questions today that may give, just your opinion on mistakes that actors are
Yeah.
making and the casting process. So tell me, just starting off with, where are you at now in terms of how you cast as opposed to where it was, pre-COVID?
Yeah, so everything has totally changed. I would say that now we mainly do self-taping. I have done some screen tests in the office with where we're trying to do chemistry reads with actors for final approval with the studio for series regulars. That's just been a couple of times, but during the worst of COVID, we did screen tests, chem reads on Zoom. I expect that to continue because now actors are everywhere. People aren't just in Los Angeles and New York anymore, and that doesn't preclude you from getting a part. So that part of it is very positive. I don't see a time where we're going to return to full casting in the office. I really don't. I know a lot of casting directors here who have given up their offices, and I mean people who do a lot of television um, don't have offices anymore. So I think the advantage is that we get to see more people. You can live anywhere you want and have a better lifestyle, I think, a more balanced lifestyle, as we were talking about. The disadvantage is, the obvious of just how I got to know you, how I got to know so many actors who would come into my office multiple times over the years. And, you know, we just got to know each other in a way that, you can't do through self tapes. So that part of it, I think we're all going to miss. I do think that in a couple of years, and I know that sounds like a long time to, maybe your students, things will normalize again and we will get back to that because, many directors and producers want to see people in person. Many don't. I think for the episodic television world, this is a much more efficient way to do casting. It's better. It's how you're going to see everybody anyway, and you don't have to meet everybody in person. And certainly you can do Zoom callbacks that they can, actors can get the producer's direction. For films, I think we'll see a bigger return to in-person casting sessions.
Why is that?
Because I think you have more time. I think there's more, the people that direct, especially bigger films, want to meet actors. They want to see them. They want to hear them read in person. And I think that's fine too. I'm happy to do that if that's what directors want to do. And it really, at the moment, the only thing that is really stopping us from doing that are studios and their protocols.
The COVID protocols and having to get, because I
Correct.
just had a few actors test in person, and they're having to definitely go through the COVID
Yeah.
protocols. And
Yeah. You get your PCR test and then your rapid test that day, and that's fine. But, at some point, that we're going to move away from that. I think it's probably going to be another year or so, but definitely move away from that.
When you are doing Zoom callbacks, because that is absolutely the way that actors are being hired right now, what are some mistakes that you're seeing being made in those callbacks?
Well, for the most part, I would say for a certain generation of actor that, who are not proficient on their computers or Zoom or whatever, the biggest thing I would say is to practice before, like learn how to get on and off of Zoom and learn where the best spot is for you to do your Zoom, where the lighting is right and your backdrop is right. And it could be as simple as a white wall. It doesn't have to be fancy. It doesn't have to be gray. It's just having a little bit of lighting and a wall. And then I find the biggest mistake people make over Zooms is when you're using your computer, you need to look at this green light at the top of your screen. And that is the best eye line to get a direct thing into camera. I happened to watch another casting director's auditions, and everybody was looking here, which is a terrible eye line.
Like the reader.
Yeah,
And so you're saying that's incredibly helpful, that it is better to be looking at the green light, no matter where you
yeah.
are. And
Yes. You see, I mean, I think you can see the difference now when I do that as opposed to if I'm looking at you here, right?
yeah, yeah.
So this, gives us it's just almost like having a camera there. And what we ask actors to do a lot of times, depending on how important it is when we're doing Zoom callbacks, is to have their own camera doing a backup just in case. You never know what happens. And then that way we can, sometimes somebody's internet connection is not great. Um, and having the backup tape is really good.
Mhm.
And I think an investment in high-speed internet for actors where we are, I mean, these are part of the things you have to invest in now in order to, because these are the tools of the trade. And it really is a matter of embracing this process because this is the way it's going to be for the most part. So do whatever you can and make it whatever investment you have to in getting the right equipment to do it.
There's such an expense to being an actor.
Mm.
Um, you look at headshots and classes and demo reels and websites and Actors Access, which I didn't know until I moved to Atlanta. That's expensive.
Is it? I had no
Yeah.
idea.
Oh my
Wow.
gosh. And then if you want to put on a demo reel, they charge you more.
Oh,
You have to pay for IMDb. If you want to go into IMDb Pro, that charges you more. Casting networks, like some of the people who work at the studio, they are paying for just being on different sites, and it's so costly.
yeah.
And you got class and all the stuff. And what are, in your opinion, some worthwhile investments besides obviously having a really nice setup as best as you can? But what else would you say is important for actors to look to invest in now in this day and age?
Well, I think you don't need to make the investment in pictures that, people used to do. That I haven't had a headshot in my office in like, I don't even know. I mean, I used to put them all over a bulletin board. I used to have them stacked up on my desk. You'd be hard pressed to find one now. I do miss those too, So there was a certain thing about that headshot or resume, but anyway, so I think a friend of yours can take a very accurate picture of you on an iPhone. My picture on IMDb was taken by Liz, in my office one day while we were. So it just needs to be a true representation of what you look like. That's all. And a couple of different shots, if I'm going through breakdown, I always like to see, different poses of people and that's about it. in terms of, and look, I do like for people to be in class. I do like for people to study. I think that's really important, and not just for an audition, because a lot of things can go wrong with just studying for an audition. A lot of times we don't have contact with whoever the coach is. They don't know what we want. And unless you're just giving somebody the tools to break down, if a lot of people aren't like you, Sarah, and they'll give people, the wrong direction or the wrong what. And I've had that happen before too. When I've told an actor, I've given them notes and said, this is what the director is looking for. This is how, and then they go to a coach, and all of a sudden I get this tape, and it's nothing like what we talked about. And they said, well, the coach told me that this is the way the scene should be played. And,
No.
at which time I go completely berserk, but it's, so I think being in class, keep continuing your education and honing your skills is a very, very important thing for actors.
We're 100% online now. And just I've seen incredible work over the past 2 years. I filmed a series in one of my classes last semester because I was,
Oh, wow.
I love this ensemble. They had been in
Yeah.
class together, all of them over the couple years, and the chemistry was there. And I was like, I like the challenge of how can I shoot a series on Zoom?
I love that. Yeah.
And so every week they came in as a completely different version of themselves. And, we have something really kind of cool and magical, but I have actors in LA who will just coach on auditions, and then they get the call back and they go into Zoom and they need a session with me because they're just freaking out about Zoom. And I'm like, okay, so we're just going to practice like right here, what you're doing with me right now. This is you on Zoom.
Right.
You're
And that is very important. And there's a lot of forgiveness on Zoom too. We all realize how hard it is. Every director and producer, they're on Zoom all day. So we know the pitfalls of it. And look, my feeling is that the people that can't make decision on Zooms can't make them any better in the room. And that's really the truth of it.
Yeah.
And some people just aren't that good at it. So I guess it's just getting over the intimidation. Like I said, this is how it is. I don't know that this is any worse than walking into a room full of people who are sitting there with their arms crossed, looking at you and waiting for you to, succeed or fail. So,
Yeah, it's just I interviewed Ethan Embry, who says hello, uh,
oh, thank you.
right
Hello.
before you, and he has a great question that I'll toss at you in a minute. But we were talking about the in-room experience because so many actors have this belief that they cannot establish a connection unless they're in the room,
Mm,
and we both were like, the room is brutal.
brutal.
I mean,
And
I've walked
so,
into a room where it's literally all men,
yeah.
and if I touch here and here, I can literally touch their knees, and they're like, feel free to use the space. And it's like,
What space?
on your lap? I mean, what,
Yeah.
and it's just very like you walk in, and I was telling Ethan, I've got a letter from Hugh Laurie, who I tested with before he did House. And he wrote me this beautiful letter when I didn't get the job. And he said, it was my honor to stand at your side in the blood soaked arena.
Oh, that's amazing.
And I was like, oh my God, he is so
Yeah,
right. You can
because
feel the blood of the actors, that it,
so I think it's so tough. I mean, I think actors need to look at this as a camera. That's what they need to look at it as. And if you realize that your acting has to, go through that camera when you're working, when you get the job, it's the same thing. It's really the same thing.
when you're looking to discover new talent, how do you do that?
Um,
Or do you look for new talent? I mean, is it just
oh,
something that
oh,
every
sure. I look for new talent on every single part I do. even if it's, a lead role, I'll look at somebody who's interesting. I'll look at their demo. Maybe I'll have them read for it, and see what they do with it. And I just cast somebody for a lead role in this movie I'm doing for Netflix. His picture came in an agency and I went, oh my God, this guy looks so interesting. And I was looking for, he's got to play an AI. And it's so boring to do these parts because they've been done so many times. And it's like, how do you do something different? And he was literally the first guy I saw. He was the first guy whose audition came in. We saw a bunch of, and I went, oh my God, this is it. If they don't like this guy, then, and he's never worked here. He has never had an agent here until, a few weeks ago. And I sent his audition was incredible. I sent it to the director. The director didn't even look at anybody else's audition. He just went, this is the guy.
Wow.
So that happens. Um,
How did he get the audition?
his agent just called me. He said, I just signed this amazing, Black actor who's in the UK. He's been doing this TV series, but he's never done anything here. And you should take a look at his reel. And I didn't even need to look at his reel, just from his picture. I was like, wow, this is a very interesting guy.
What about his picture drew you in?
Well, he just has a very unique look. And then I heard his voice on his reel, and he has this booming voice, and he's 6'5". He was just, and the role is like, when you first see the character, he's a head in a box, basically. So what is going to draw you into this guy? How are you going to see, what's your first impression of this guy going to be? So yeah, we see new people all the time, and especially for day player roles and smaller roles, we are casting quite a few things that are shooting in LA, which has been unusual, but Ambulance shot here. And that was all during the pandemic. Half of that was during lockdown. And, we saw hundreds of actors, and that was great. And a lot of people that I had never seen before. So it's just a matter of, if you have the will to do that. Every casting director is different. Some people rely on, the people they know.
Hmm.
And I always love to do that too. But I also like to meet new people for those. So we're not doing generals as much anymore. I just, I'd rather look at somebody's work, or, see them audition for me and do it that way. So.
How does actors will ask all the time, how do I make my tape stand out? I need to be doing more. I'm not doing enough. There was a great quote. I interviewed LaMonica Garrett a few months ago, and I guess Billy Bob Thornton gives the same advice over and over, which is every time you finish a take and you feel like you haven't done enough, you've still done too much.
I could not agree more. I mean, actors who think like they want to do more, I mean, do less. That is the key to everything. And when you look at really fine acting and what draws you in, it's just less is more. And especially on small parts, on one line parts, the people who just spit it out and say it, stop pausing for those commas and whatever. Just say the lines, say the lines, say it how you would normally say it. Do nothing. And 9 times out of 10, you will get the role. Or I will at least show your audition to the director and the producer, and then I'll remember you again because you've been simple and real and honest. And that's it. The acting portion is what kills it. I mean, I think some of the best examples, like look at, I know it's kind of a cliche, but look at Al Pacino in Godfather. Like that performance, the stillness of that performance, the honesty of that performance, he was doing nothing. And it was a brilliant performance. And you see that in so many great actors.
There's an effortlessness and a trust of like, I can sit here and have a thought and that's strong enough.
Right. And you're not doing theater. People don't need to see your facial expressions. They need to feel what you're thinking. They need to see what you're thinking inside. It comes across on camera. And I just think that too many actors want to emote and they feel that that's good acting. They don't listen. That's the main thing. Listening to somebody and then reacting. Not you can make some decisions about how you want to play a part, but how can you really make that until even if you're reading with someone who's not great, which is very hard,
Mhm.
you still have to listen to them and then make a decision in the moment. So
When an actor says to you, I feel like I need to network more. I feel like I need to like go out and, do workshops and I need to like have people meet me. Do you think that's something that's beneficial to an actor at this point? Or would you encourage actors just to continue to focus on what they can bring to roles, the craft, training?
mhm.
I never made it a point in my career to network.
I don't know who you'd know. Look, I tell very young actors or people that are just starting out and maybe they don't have an agent. Um, sure, like find other actors to network with to help you find an agent or find the best class or whatever you want to do. It always helps to have a network of, people who are in your profession.
Yeah.
If those people can't help you per se, but I mean, it's a community, it's camaraderie. As for workshops, I do not believe in workshops. I think they're a complete waste of money and just bullshit. Like, honestly, I used to do them, I don't even know, 30 years ago.
Wow.
And I was a baby casting director or whatever. And I thought, oh, well, this is a good way to see actors for small parts. If you can't get an audition, then it's not about the workshop that's going to help you get that.
Yeah.
Then it's your agent or it's you or something. But that's not where I would spend my money. I would spend my money on more classes or something that's worthwhile.
Yeah, I want class to change an actor's life. Every class.
Yeah.
Every class. I want actors to get an enormous amount and to, they're writing notes and they're discovering, and it feels so different, and yet people will come in and talk about, well, but I heard for a co-star for one line you should have a backstory, you should know your character's point of view, you should have a subtext, and I'm like, whoa, 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 no, 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 no. I just need to believe that you're a waitress who says, would you like some more coffee?
Right. Yes, it's too, whoever tells actors these things, I don't know. I just, no, what you want to know is what's on that page. If you have one line, what came just before your line? What came right after your line? What is the other person's line? Because that's, I think, what most actors who are starting to miss is like, they only know what their part is.
Yeah, what are you responding to?
Right. And if you can, and sometimes you just get that one line. I mean, there are many times that I'm working on something that's, nobody wants anybody to have the material and I just have to send the actor the line. Well, then I guess you have to just figure it out. But if it's like, would you like another cup of coffee? There's nothing to do with that line. And the more real you make it sound, the more nothing it is, the better off you're going to be. And it's hard to convince actors of this. I know they just don't feel like that is what their job is, but it really is. And that's the style of acting now. It's changed in the last, I would say 20 years, the style that people use to act when you go back to the style of some episodic television, 20, 30 years ago. Very different than what you see now.
I believe personally, theater is an art form, film and TV is another art form, and then auditioning is another art form.
Right. They're all, you're correct. That's absolutely right. There are three separate things that you're doing, and you have to know what you're doing. Not one thing works for every medium. And just like not one method of teaching acting works for every actor.
Exactly.
Um, so, but that is the biggest pitfall that actors have, I think, is that wanting to just do, I don't know, like this Shakespearean drama. It's just not what we do. And also, I'm finding that now with self-taping, I'm kind of messing around with the actor a little less. So in other words, when you used to come in, I could make you do it like 5 times and go, no, Sarah, try this, do it this way, blah, blah, blah. And now I'm just going with somebody's instinct. So maybe I'll see more people, but I'm also not trying to get that person who walks in and who I really like to do it a certain way. Because what happens is they may do it that way in my office, but then the minute they leave, and I go, make it simpler, do nothing. They'd never trust what I say. And then when they get the job and they're on set, it's a whole different thing. They revert back to their method, which is not what got them the job.
Yeah. Yeah, I would hear directors say that to actors, like, hey, just do it like your audition.
Right. Yeah.
And actors would get insulted, and it's like, but what got you the job is what
Right.
worked, right?
Yes.
But there's this sort of like, no, I need to emote, and there's nothing more powerful on camera than having a true thought and being authentic in who you are and honest.
Yeah.
And
That's
to
it.
me, it's like dancing, right? To make something look effortless, even, can I use some more coffee? To make that look effortless, you need to move, to try it a few times, to stretch it, to dance, to have the choreography so that, because it's such a technical medium. Stop. Do you want some more coffee? Do I stop? Do I move on? Not, someone said to me, yeah, but my character's really tired. She has 3 kids she's supporting at home. I'm like, no, she just needs to know if they want more coffee. Right. But, the 12 steps to a one-line co-star. No, 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 no. Hang on, hang on, hang on. It's about the effortlessness and the simplicity, and that takes some work, but
Yeah.
like not necessarily the work that you would do if you're rehearsing for a play for 3 months.
Right.
It's just
It,
different.
if we could just pound that into actors' heads, they would be so much better off. It's the key. It really is the key.
Do you do anything in particular to take care of your mental health in an industry that
Nothing that I can mention on this tape. um, but what do I do to take care of my mental health? Wow, it's hard. Luckily I have an amazing staff who works with me. Um, everybody who's been with me for so many years, they help me keep my mental health. We laugh, we rant and rave, like that. And then I try when I leave the office to leave it behind and not think about it and have a life. And I have a life. I have a kid, I have a husband, I have friends who are not in this business.
mm,
And I could do more. I think I'm starting to feel like it won't all go away if I take a little vacation or whatever, but that it took me a long time to get to that place. Very long time.
so you feel, because I know that's obviously that's an actor thing of like, oh my God, I'm never going to work again.
Mhm.
It's all going to go away. So you have that as well.
Oh, all the time,
Wow.
all the time. And deep fear every time I start a project that I can't do it, that I won't find the right people, that I don't know how, that I'm not, just all the time. I always have to, and I think that fear kept me, from doing certain things that I should have done, or I handled things badly because of that fear. But, it takes time. You get over it and um, you find a way to work your way through it. But I still have it. I still have it. And I think I'll always have it. I think it's the impetus, it's the draw, it's what makes me do a better job. That if I didn't have that, that I would just be like, okay, whatever. This is, but it's really that fear of failure that makes me better.
Yeah. I tell actors going into the audition, go in as if it's your job. Say I instead of they. But once I would book, I would just go, please God, let me do justice to this person.
Yeah.
Because you never know.
I mean, that's it. It is auditioning is your job. That's your only job as an actor, because that's all you have until you actually get the job.
Mhm.
So that's why you have to treat every audition, know your lines, know what you want to do, and then also be open to being, a conduit for the director or the producer's idea, or the casting director if you're fortunate enough to work with somebody who has an idea or can give you direction.
One thing, and I will wrap up, but one thing I've been told by actors is that they're getting more direction online, because directors really want to stretch and make sure that they can go to different places. Someone who just booked a series said the director gave her random direction just to see if she could take it, and how important it is to go into these sessions malleable, not like
Yeah,
I made that choice and that's it.
absolutely. I think that's very true. And I think that, look, the Zoom audition leaves you don't have that time, the actor walks into the room, all the stuff like there's more time. And I think people feel less intimidated not having the actor in the room, because you'd be surprised how many directors and producers are intimidated by actors. It's the same thing for them. They want to do well too.